Hi, and welcome to the part 2 of my August/September book haul. This is going to be the book haul with all the adult books that I got within those 2 months roughly, and I also will provide the link down below to the part 1 of my book haul, and that was young adult books only. So this one will be adult books. You'll have mystery and detective stories, and also plays and contemporary, and maybe some sci-fi or fantasy. I don't even remember what I have in this pile, but just let's get on with it. So the first book that I have here is actually courtesy of my friend who gave it to me, and this is John Le Carre's George Smiley novel and Murder of Quality. This is a little book. I cannot wait to get to it because I really like John Le Carre's writing style. He writes spy novels set within the period of the Cold War, and we have the main protagonist, George Smiley, who is part of the British intelligence service, and he works with different types of agents and also kind of does a bit of a field work himself. And it all has to do with spies, discovering spies, and a lot of intrigue. His writing style is very interesting, it's very deep, it's a lot compared to Dickens novels. And actually, a week ago on Monday, I went to the sort of interview broadcast with John Le Carre, in which he was talking about his latest George Smiley novel called The Legacy of Spies, and he was also kind of talking about his life, about his own experiences, and about his writing, which absolutely put me in the mood for a very good spy novel. So I'm excited to have this one because I never had it. And thank you so much to my friend for providing me with this copy. Next, I have a copy of St. Joan by Bernard Shaw, and I decided to pick this play because I watched it on stage earlier this year by National Theatre, and it left me a bit confused. And only at the end of the play I realized that the events that were shown on stage were actually the abridged version of this play, and some elements were omitted, essentially. So I've never read this play. I read other works by Bernard Shaw, obviously, but not this one, and I want to read it. That's another reason why I'm still kind of, procrastinating with my review of that play, because I just wasn't feeling it, So I want to read this one and then write my review. Next, I have another play, and this one is courtesy of Playwrights Canada Press, so thanks to them for providing me with a copy of Hedda Gabler and Sirens, Electra in Bosnia by Judith Thompson. So, Electra, which is a very interesting story on its own, but also Hedda Gabler, and I absolutely loved Hedda Gabler, whom I read the play itself, the script, and also watched it in the production by National Theatre. I watched it live. I did the whole review on my blog. I'll provide the link down below, so I'm really excited about this one. Plus, this is by Judith Thompson, and I read another play by Judith Thompson, which was Watching Glory Die. And that one was a really hard one. I'm looking forward to reading this one. Cannot wait. I actually need to read it really soon. So, and also this cover. I'm really digging it, Next, I have another play. Big surprise. And this one, Queers, 8 monologues curated by Mark Gatiss. Do I need to say anything more? I mean, Mark Gatiss and also all of those people. Hell yeah. And no, I have no idea what it's about, and I want to keep it this way, so I'm not even looking at the back, but yeah. Next, I have another copy of a play which I watched on stage by National Theatre. There seems to be a trend, and this one, The Last of the Housemans by Stephen Beresford. I watched this play back in 2013. That was my one of the very first plays that I watched by National Theatre. Like, look at those people. I mean, seriously. Helen McCrory, whom I absolutely loved in Deep Blue Sea, Rory Kinnear, whom I've seen in Othello, and also in Threepence Opera, and I've seen him in something else as well. And I mean, it was a very interesting play. All I remember about it is that it was all about family and family relations, so I want to revisit the text. I wanted to purchase this copy for a while. I had it on my wish list at Book Depository for a while, and I never could find, a reason to spend $25 on a script. Yes, this is how much plays cost. Like, this is a very thin book, and it can go up to $27, $25 easily. Especially this is, I believe, a UK print, and in UK, obviously, it's £10, but Jesus, the exchange rate. So I've been just waiting for this to go down in price, and it did, and I purchased it for, I think, half the price, which was a pretty good deal, and I'm excited to have it. And here we go, another play, and this is Death in Texas, Hydrotapia, another plays by Tony Kushner. Tony Kushner wrote The Angels in America, which I'm yet to read, but I loved it on stage of National Theatre, and I wanted to pick up a copy with more of his plays. This is a very creepy cover, and it's a very hard title to read, but I definitely want to read more plays, so I hope I will not get disappointed. Next, I have a copy of Unquiet Spirits by Bonnie McBird, and I believe this is book number 2 in the series about new Sherlock Holmes stories. The first one was Art and Blood, which I still haven't read, to be honest, but I saw this book available in Book Outlet, and I was like, okay, I might as well get it, because Sherlock Holmes, you know? So, no idea what it's about, but it's a new release, 2017 release, it was available in Book Outlet for cheap, and I snagged it. Next, I have a copy of The Proof of Love by Catherine Hall, and all I know about this book is that it is a winner of the Reincarnation Prize, and it was recommended by Simon from Savage Reads, so that's all you need to know, and I'm excited to have it. I'm not sure when I will get to it, but it seems like a slim of a book, so it shouldn't be that hard to read. Yeah, it's even less than 300 pages. I just need to be in the mood for something more serious, I guess. I was still on a hunt for more queer literature in my life, and I picked up Enigma Variations by Andre Ackerman. I keep butchering his name, and I'm really sorry about it. He's the author of Call Me By Your Name, and know nothing about this book, but I got it. Just because. Yes. Sorry, I'm not doing a very good job here, but as you know, I prefer not to know anything about books as I get them. Next, I have a copy of Drinks with Dead Poets, The Autumn Term by Glenn Maxwell, which is a sort of almost like a non-fiction and poetry literary criticism book. I'm struggling to identify this book within any particular genre because it seems to be both magical realism and non-fiction. But basically this book is exactly what it says on the cover. It's about the main protagonist who finds himself in a village in which he meets a lot of different poets that should be dead, but they're not. Next, I have another copy that I got because I was influenced by BookTube, and this is Tin Man by Sarah Winman. She is the author of When God Was a Rabbit, and that book is also on my TBR. I don't know much about the plot, but this book was both recommended by Jen Campbell and also Simon from Savage Reads, so I do trust their opinions. And it says here, a love letter to human kindness and friendship, loss, and living. It feels that this book will be pretty heartbreaking, and I'm all for it. Next, I have a copy of William S. Burroughs and Jack Kerouac, and I'm pretty sure I'm butchering all of the names, but I cannot read. And this is, and the hippos were boiled in their tanks. This is actually a fictional story based sort of on a true story, and this book was the inspiration for the movie called Kill Your Darlings, which I watched at TIFF a couple of years ago, absolutely adored, and it was very heartbreaking, so I decided to pick up the book because this is how I roll. Next, I have a copy We Need to Talk About Kevin by Lionel Shriver. I honestly have no idea why I picked this book up. This doesn't seem to be a type of a story that I would enjoy, but Sophie Carlin liked it, so I decided to give it a try. Plus it says winner of the Orange Prize, and the movie version has Tilda Swinton in it, so... Next I have a copy of Queer by William Burroughs, and just picked it up because of the title, I guess. Plus I want to read more classics. I haven't done that in a while, and I want to go back into those classics that I kind of seemed to skip or maybe skim over while I was at school, so definitely one of those. Next, I have a copy of English Animals by Laura Kay, and this book was both recommended by Simon from Savage Reads and Jane Campbell, and you can see the trend here, right? Plus, it has a fox on the cover. I had to buy it. You understand it, right? I had to buy it. Plus it's set in rural England and something queer is happening. Of course I had to buy it. But mostly it's just the fox, let's be honest. Next I have a copy of the Gustav Sonata by Rose Tremaine. Not sure if it's Gustav or Gustav. Anyway, another book which was referenced by a couple of people in BookTube, and I've been, like, you know me, I buy queer books like the world is ending, and that's another one of those. Simon from Savage Reads also said that it's like a tearjerker in a way, so I'm looking forward to that, because obviously my life is not full of pain as it is. And I'm joking, don't worry, I'm fine. I'm absolutely fine. Yes. I just have too many books that I haven't read yet. That's my pain in my life. Next I have a copy of Autumn by Alice Smith, and this one was the winner of the 2016 Bailey's Women's Prize for Fiction. She's one of the rather famous authors when it comes to magical realism, and I love that stuff, so I picked it up. Plus, once again, Jen Campbell, Sophie Carlin, pretty much everyone I watch on BookTube seems to have read it and loved it. So here I am trying to jump on that bandwagon. Plus, it's super cute. And autumn is my favorite season. Next, I have a copy of The Strangled Vine by M.J. Carter, and this is a Victorian England type of mystery story. First book in the series, and this one I believe is set in India, if I'm not mistaken. Or it starts in India, and it's supposed to be a very Sherlock Holmes Conan Doyle style, so I decided to pick this one up. I tried to listen to it as an audiobook from Overdrive, but then realized that it was kind of slow. That's why I decided to pick up the book copy, and I got it from Book Outlet for super cheap. So yay for that. Here's another book which I got thanks to Sophie Carlin, because this is how I roll, and this is John Gardner's Grendel. This is a story about Grendel, that infamous beast thing from Beowulf, and it seems to be a very interesting story. Really weird, and also kind of referencing classic literature. Plus, I don't know, Sophie liked it, so probably I will like it too. We seem to have a very similar taste for weird stuff. Next, I have a copy of The Parcel by Anosh Irani, and I saw this book at the local bookstore while I was at the event back in August, right before I went on vacation, and I looked at this cover and I thought that it was very appealing, and then I read the blurb and I was like, whoa, this is going to be a very interesting story. A very sad one, because this is the story about a transgender woman who essentially works as a prostitute in India, and I've never heard of anything like this before. I think it will be a very difficult read, but also a very interesting story. So if anyone read this book, please let me know. I'm fairly certain this will not end well, but I've always never read anything that has to do with gender identity from that part of the world, so I'm looking forward to reading this one. Next, I have a copy of the book that I used to have, but I don't have it anymore, and I don't know why. And this is The Elegance of the Hedgehog by Muriel Barbary. This is a book translated from French, and it's apparently magical realism. I remember reading the beginning of the novel, but I never finished it, so I want to give it another try. That's another book that seems to be popping up a lot on not only in my recommendations on different websites, but also on BookTube as well. And the last but definitely not least is Weathering, a novel by Lucy Wood, and this is another one magical realism story. It's a bit difficult to summarize, but I'm just going to read the first paragraph here. Pearl doesn't know how she ended up in the river, the same messy, cacophonous river in the same rain-soaked valley she had been stuck in for years, but here her spirit swirls and stays. So I'm really interested to see where the story goes. And I also like the cover. It reminds me a lot of Autumn, and I like the bluish, almost watery, you know, like watercolors. So I couldn't resist picking this one up from Book Outlet. Okay, this is all. These are all the books that I got in those 2 months, end of August and September. And God, I really need to stop buying books. I just go through phases in which I tend to buy books in a certain genre or dealing with a certain topic or a specific subgenre, if you will. And I really need to stop doing that, because even though buying books is an amazing therapy, it's also very expensive. I really need to use library more. Even though what I'm saying, I have like a pile of books from a library. Anyway, please let me know down below if you read any of the books that I mentioned, and if you ever get influenced by BookTube as much as I am when it comes to book buying. I'll provide the link down below for the part 1, that is only young adult books, and I hope to see you very soon. Bye! Okay, these are not all of the books that I have for this haul, but I couldn't pick up the whole pile, so. Simon for a sandwich. Is it Gustav or Gustav? I really suck at summarizing things.